Good morning. Welcome to London Tech Week. Your success is personal to me. I had the privilege of living, studying, and working in California, and that experience left a lasting mark on me. I lived and breathed the culture that was adventurous, optimistic, and forward-thinking, willing to take risks, to be imaginative, to build new products, services, and businesses that could change the world. And I see that culture here at home too. I've been traveling a lot in the last few months, right across the United Kingdom. And wherever I go, I meet young people who are hungry, ambitious, unencumbered by timidity and orthodoxy. And looking at all of you, I know that we will see that same spirit here at Tech Week 2. So I'm optimistic, and the statistics show that there's good cause to be optimistic. The UK has created more tech unicorns than any other country, bar the United States and China. We have extraordinary, distinctive strengths in fintech, life sciences, and creative industries. Our corporate and capital gains tax rates are internationally competitive, and we're known around the world for our agile approach to regulation, which acts where needed to address concerns about large dominant players while backing innovation. And you can see that in our approach to financial regulation, where we've pioneered the regulatory sandbox, open banking, and now an innovative framework for crypto and blockchain. So we already have an incredible, thriving tech ecosystem. But we know we need to do more. Perhaps the biggest question we face right now is where our future growth is going to come from. The answer is innovation. Just look at our history. Over the last 50 years, innovation, broadly defined, created around half of the UK's productivity growth. But since the financial crisis, like many countries around the world, our rate of innovation does seem to have slowed. But I am confident that we can turn that around. With the rise of general-purpose technologies like AI, it is plausible to believe we are on the cusp of a new wave of innovation. But we need to make sure that we are ready to capitalize. To do that, there are 3 tools at our disposal: capital, people, and ideas. And we are deploying them all. First, capital. The UK is already a natural home for growing businesses to raise finance. In 2021, even in the midst of COVID, VC investment in the UK didn't just grow, it more than doubled. London is 4th for VC investment globally, behind only Beijing, San Francisco, and New York. Our tax reliefs for investing in startups are internationally best in class. And it's not just private markets, but public too. In 2021, over 120 companies chose to list in London, confirming that London is the dominant European IPO market. And we want to go further. We're reforming our listing rules to make it even easier for companies to raise public funding. We're overhauling Solvency II and the charge cap regime to unlock pensions and insurance industry capital. And through the Future Funds and British Business Bank, we're providing direct government backing to some of the most exciting, fastest-growing scale-up businesses. So if you're an entrepreneur looking for funding, I want you to look at the UK and say, that's where I want to be. Now, our second priority is to equip our people with the skills they need to thrive. We have some of the best educated people in the world. And the percentage of tertiary level graduates studying STEM courses here in the UK is higher than even the US. But we don't have a monopoly on talent. Nearly half of our STEM researchers are immigrants, and around half of our most innovative, fastest-growing companies have an immigrant founder. So, we're making our visa system for international talent the most competitive in the world. Let me give you just one example. We've just announced a new high potential individual visa. If you're a young person who's graduated from a global top 50 university, you can come to the UK with virtually no conditions, no job offer, and stay here with your family for 2 years to just explore, work, study, invent, figure out what you want to do. And that should send a strong and clear message to the brightest global talent. If you come to the UK, we will back you to succeed. Now, nothing like that exists anywhere else in the world. And it sums up our philosophy when it comes to high-skill visas. Less, build it and they will come, and more, let them come and they will build it. So, capital, people, and third, ideas. The UK has less than 1% of the world's population, but 4 of the world's top 20 universities. The second most Nobel laureates out of any nation, the third highest number of research publications worldwide. But we can't be content to rest on our laurels. We need to do more to support private sector R&D, and that includes tax. On the face of it, we have one of the most generous tax regimes for R&D investment anywhere, measured by how much we spend on it. But despite spending huge and rapidly growing sums, clearly it is not working as well as it should. In the UK, business spending on R&D amounts to just 3 times the value of the R&D tax relief. The OECD average? 13 times. So I will make sure that our tax regime for innovation is globally competitive and creates proper incentives for all of you to invest and invent. And of course, the government will do our bit too. Over the next few years, we're increasing government investment in R&D by almost 50%. As a percentage of GDP, that will put us above Germany, France, Israel, Canada, Japan, and the United States. And one technology that will become ever more critical in the years to come is advanced computing. The extraordinary power of the emerging generation of supercomputers will change every aspect of our economy. So I am delighted to launch today a new review into the future of compute, led by Professor Zubin Garamani, AI professor at the University of Cambridge and director of Google Brain. It will report later this year with recommendations for how we can deliver the UK's computing needs, not just this year, but for decades to come. So let me close with one final thought. My political opponents actually love to paint me as some kind of tech geek. Now, as I'm sure you've gathered this morning, that's a label I'm actually proud of. I'll always be on the side of entrepreneurs, innovators, young people inventing the future. Because the biggest lesson I took from my time in California still guides me now as Chancellor. What really matters for economic success is innovation. If we want our country to succeed, we need to do what we've always done and embrace new technologies and the people and culture that creates them. No serious analysis of our prospects could conclude anything different. Because if we can get this right, if we can back our capital, people, and ideas, if we can encourage that incredible spirit I see everywhere in this country, then we can be confident that Britain stands on the cusp of a new era of innovation and change. And ultimately, what gives me that confidence is standing here at this podium and looking out at all of you. People of talent and ambition and imagination searching relentlessly for that next new idea that will shape our lives and change the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chancellor, and certainly at the Times we'll be following that AI review very closely. It's interesting you talked about the war for tech talent. That's something I'm writing my column on this week. And I just hear it from businesses across the board that they're really grappling with it. And so if you've got some great ideas about what you're doing to find talent, do come and find me. I'll be fascinated to hear about it. Now, our next speaker is front and centre of the technology space in government, the Secretary of State for the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. And there is a huge amount for the department going on, not least the Online Safety Bill and the Competition Bill at the moment, two major pieces of legislation in the tech space. Please welcome to the stage Nadine Dorries.
And welcome to this year's London Tech Week. It's an absolute delight to be here and to officially open what is London Tech Week following such a great speech from Rishi, our Chancellor. I have very fond memories of this event, as it was at London Tech Week that I opened. It was London Tech Week last September. I had only been 3 days into my job, and my first task as Secretary of State, official public task, was to open the London Tech Week last year. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire. And I remember arriving last year feeling a lot more nervous than I do today, because I had such a good time and I met so many fascinating and interesting people. So it was a great way to start the role. And I've already seen some of you here today that I met last year. I am so proud of all the things that we've achieved just in the past year within my department, particularly the Online Safety Bill and our work on digital competition. And in the last year or so, the UK has really led the way on tech regulation. We're going further, as Rishi pointed out, than any other country in the world to protect people online and to make the UK tech as competitive and as innovative as possible. And I know that lots of other countries are watching what we're doing and looking to emulate it. And today, I'm delighted that I can announce another milestone in that journey. As you know, there is a great deal of work being done across the whole of government in the tech space. But we haven't properly updated our digital strategy since 2017. Not even taking into account all of the things that have happened since then, including a global pandemic. That is a long time in the world of tech. Just 5 years ago, TikTok was still only available in China. Now it has more visitors than Google. And even at my age, I'm one of them, so move over, Gen Z. In 2017, most people outside the tech world had never even heard of Zoom. Can you imagine that? Self-driving cars were still at early stages of testing, and yet today, I've just arrived at this conference in an autonomous vehicle. And it was actually with the London-based startup company Wave. And I have to say, it was probably one of the most exciting car journeys I've ever taken. At this time in the morning, through the centre of London in a driverless car, and I felt absolutely safe. The point I'm trying to make is that the tech world has sped forward, as it always does, at a warp speed rate. And it's our job as a government and the job of everybody in this room, I think, to keep up. So as I open London Tech Week, I'm delighted to announce a new UK digital strategy to lead us through the next chapter of the tech age. One that brings all the work we're doing across government into one ambitious project. So many of you told me last year, in fact, everybody I spoke to last year told me that a skills deficit in the tech sector was your number one issue of concern. The new UK digital strategy will bring tech leaders together in a new digital skills council to help to continue to work on and to plug that skills gap. And Rishi mentioned in his speech some of the areas that we're introducing and looking at to make that easier. It aims to ensure that our version of the internet, one that is free, open and safe, is one that prevails worldwide. Under this new strategy, we'll ensure that businesses in every single part of the UK are supported to take up the latest tech, and that the benefits of our booming tech sector are felt right across the country. And one of the biggest changes since 2017 is that we've now left the EU. The digital strategy will capitalise on the freedoms we now have to set our own standards and regulations. And we intend to be as pro-innovation and pro-growth as we possibly can be when it comes to data reform and artificial intelligence. Essentially, this is the roadmap that the entire government will follow in the next decade to reinforce our status as a global tech superpower. We're starting from a real position of strength. We're already the tech capital of Europe, with more unicorns than any other country, and a new one created every 11 and a half days. I've no idea how they worked out the half. And this is probably the most exciting and important thing that I'll say this week. Today, new figures show that our startups and scale-ups have secured over £12 billion in venture capital funding so far this year. That's more than China, a country 10 times our size, and it's a staggering achievement. Our small island is now only second to the US. That is quite something. So we're already sitting almost at the very top of the global league table. This new digital strategy will cement our rightful place on the tech ladder. I've given you just a quick overview of the headline points, but my colleague, the Minister of Tech and Digital Economy, Chris Philp, who many of you know and have already met, will be outlining the full details of the strategy later. So I'd encourage you all to attend that event if you can. In the meantime, I look forward to working with all of you on achieving those aims and meeting some of you tonight in number 10 and at various times over the week and at my own roundtable later on today. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you.